Welcome back to another We Ourselves video, and today I want to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine and my thoughts on the movie. Did it save the multiverse? Did it save the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Or was it just another Deadpool movie? I'll discuss all of that and more in today's video. Deadpool and Wolverine sees the matchup of a lifetime for many MCU fans, and comic book fans for that matter. The movie was good. It was a good Deadpool movie. Ryan Reynolds really knows his character, and so the movie was well produced. There was high production values. Fans of Deadpool will get plenty of bloody R-rated action that we've come to know and love in the Deadpool movies. The opening action scene, which you see part of in the trailer, so there's not a spoiler there, that scene has some of the most creative ways for Deadpool to kill each one of those hunters. Hugh Jackman is awesome as Wolverine. As always, he gets plenty of room to really show his ability and his talent. And so he brings this version of Wolverine, who we've never seen before. He really brings that character to life, and he really makes it work. And the chemistry between the two, it is like that buddy cop chemistry that everybody knows and loves. And so they play well off each other. And there's even times, and you can see it in the takes that they decide to use, that Hugh Jackman is reacting to Ryan Reynolds ad-libbing and things like that. There's sometimes he's even making faces. So I don't even think he was prepared to see what Ryan Reynolds would do in each one of those takes. But it plays into the character because his Wolverine does not know Deadpool. It played well because it made sense. You get some great cameos in the films. You get a lot of cameos. And it makes you wonder why you didn't get other characters and actors. But then again, you have to remember that they're going into the MCU. And some of these characters have actually played a different character in the mainline MCU. And there's an end credit montage of bits of footage from all the X-Men movies and even a little from the Fantastic Four movies showing behind the scene takes and stuff. And all of that is really good because, again, Ryan Reynolds knows if people are going to wait for end credit, they don't want to sit through a boring list of a whole bunch of names. So he runs that behind the scene footage from 20 plus years of Marvel, X-Men, and Fantastic Four movies. So that's worth seeing. And overall, it's a good movie. I had fun. I laughed at times. I liked the cameos. Like I said, I like seeing Hugh Jackman back again. I like how he and Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, play off each other. Now, would I say that I like this movie better than the other two Deadpools? No. I personally like Deadpool 2 better, and I'm going to explain why that is. But do I think this movie has saved the MCU? No, I do not. Does it usher in the X-Men and the Fantastic Four to the MCU? No, because the mainline MCU movies have already done that. We saw Professor X in Multiverse of Madness. We had the theme introduced and Idea of Mutants introduced in Ms. Marvel TV show. And then in the Marvels, you had Monica Rambeau trapped in another timeline where we see Beast as played by Kelsey Grammer. So the mainline Marvel MCU movies have already introduced and established that the Fantastic Four, because we had Kaczynski playing Reed Richards. So we've already introduced that they now exist. And anybody who watches Loki knows that with the multiverse now in existence, then it's obvious that all of these iterations of all of these movies, they exist. Those characters exist, and we're going to get new versions of them. So no, Deadpool did not establish that. It didn't do anything. This is a Deadpool movie. And so at this point, I just want to warn people that the things that I'm going to say now are spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, I would say go and see it. It's worth seeing in the movie theaters. Now, for myself, when I came out, I did not immediately say that I wanted to go and see this movie again. I did not feel like there was anything in the movie that I really wanted to go back and experience again on the big screen. When it finally comes out on Disney Plus, I'll watch it, or I'll probably watch people do first-time reactions to it because I like to do that. But unlike No Way Home, for instance, I knew I was going to see No Way Home again in the theaters, and I actually ended up seeing it 4 times in the theater. But this one, no, not really. I like Deadpool 2 better. And I know a lot of people are really enthusiastic about this. They're saying it's so good and all the reviews and stuff like that. But I'm going to get into reasons why I do not even feel like it's the best Deadpool movie. And so, before going forward, once again, there are spoilers coming. So go and see the movie in the theater. Go and experience it. But if you've already seen it or you don't care about it, then okay, I'm going to get into some stuff that'll probably spoil the movie for you. All right, you've been warned. Here we go. First of all, for me, I've heard people say that this Deadpool movie really explores the multiverse, and the trailers kind of tell you that's what's going to happen. You think that Deadpool is being used to save the multiverse? No, he isn't. The movie didn't explore the multiverse. This movie introduced a couple of new things when it comes to the TVA. We know about Nexus beings like Wanda Maximoff. They are beings that exist in all timelines across the multiverse. They keep reoccurring. They are Nexus beings. What this movie does, and I don't know why, but it's fine, they introduce a new concept of a person, not a Nexus being, but a person whose act of sacrifice or whatever on a particular timeline is so great that when that character or that person or the individual dies, then it causes the entire timeline to collapse eventually. Logan's sacrifice was so important that when he died, he caused that timeline to unravel, or it's unraveling and it's going to die within the next 2,000 years or so. And so the only really multiverse hopping that you get in this movie is when Deadpool decides to go and find another Wolverine to put in that timeline, because it's the same timeline that all his friends exist. Vanessa's in that timeline. All the other X-Men and people like that he knew, so he wants to save that timeline from dying, so he wants to replace the Wolverine. And you get to see different versions of Wolverine, and Hugh Jackman gets to play all these different versions of Wolverines, but all of them immediately attack Deadpool and try to kill him. The only one that doesn't is the one that you see in the trailer, and that's the one who's already defeated and really doesn't care. And so that's the one he chooses. That's it for the multiverse hopping type of stuff. Everybody else you see, all the cameos, all of these people are existing in the void at the end of time. They're not even on timelines anymore. So nothing that happens in this Deadpool movie really affects the multiverse, and it doesn't usher in anything, because all the cameos, all the callbacks, everything are from variants that have already been sent to the void. Okay? Cassandra Nova, obviously in the trailer, she's in the void. So no, it doesn't give a new take on the multiverse, and it isn't the way to usher in the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. The mainline MC movies already did it. Ryan Reynolds, he's very self-indulgent at times. And that's one of those times where you could see Hugh Jackman's reaction to what he's doing on screen. Even he is like saying, dude, what the hell? Some of that stuff did not work for me. There were some stretches that were boring, and there were things that's like, why is this in here? You're just really going overboard. But again, the big thing that everybody's talking about, Wesley Snipes coming in as the original Blade. Like I said with my Ghostbuster review, when you bring in those old actors, you can see and feel their age. And even though Wesley Snipes is still in shape, he's not in the same shape he was 20 plus years ago when he did Blade. But you can see and feel the age on him, okay? It was evident. And then he utters that line where he says, there's only one Blade, and that's all there'll ever be. And then Ryan Reynolds looks at the camera. Now, a lot of people are wondering if Wesley Snipes' utterance cursed Mahershala Ali's Blade. No, it didn't. But when you also know and understand that the delay in the Mahershala Ali's Blade always seems to match the development process of this Wolverine and Deadpool movie, because both were pitched in 2019. But when Blade was just 2 months away from principal photography, Ryan Reynolds was still scrambling and meeting with Kevin Feige to come up with the script because he had no story ideas. And the producer herself says, there were many times where we spun our wheels trying to even justify this movie existing. And that's when you saw that death blow to Mahershala Ali's Blade movie 2 months away from principal photography. That production never recovered. It was never that close again to coming out. And Ryan Reynolds is well aware of that, because he went and got the original Blade. And then he comes in and has him say this in the movie, and then he looks at the camera as if challenging Marvel to do the new Blade. No, he's part of the problem, because he was there when the first Blade series was tanked by bringing him in and giving him 1/3 of the screen time and upsetting Wesley Snipes. And so here he is again, being the savior of the MCU, when it was the original Blade 20 plus years ago that literally saved Marvel Studios at the time. And again, I'm going to do a whole separate video that talks about that, but I think it's really odd. Ryan Reynolds was there in that third Blade movie, and that was the last one that you had, and he was taking screen time from Wesley Snipes. Now, 20 plus years later, when people start to talk about, wouldn't it be interesting if a new Blade starring Mahershala Ali, which had the blessings of the original Blade, Wouldn't it be cool if that Blade came out and saved the MCU and put it back on track? And so what happens? His production gets tanked at the very same time. And again, Deadpool was accelerated. Even the executive producer for the Deadpool movie said she's never seen a major studio move on a major project this quick. While at the same time, Mahershala Ali's attorney is like saying, I've never seen a project dragged out for so long. I've never seen this in my experience. Ryan Reynolds, there's a little dark side to him. So here he is, usurping what could have been another Blade movie, saving the MCU, and instead he becomes the savior. He says it in the trailer and he says it in the movie, and then add insult to injury, he brings the old Blade back and have that Blade say that there's only one Blade and that's all there's ever gonna be. Come on. He's not challenging Marvel, he's challenging us when he looks at us in that fourth wall break. Like I said, there's a dark side to Ryan Reynolds. I'm gonna do a whole separate one that talks about how he has a habit from the very start of his career, always playing a Jesus Savior character. And that's gonna be a very interesting video to see the movies that this man has done, starting almost back at the start of his career, how he's always pitching himself as a Jesus or as a Savior. And he found a way for Deadpool to literally do it. That's why they were trying to make this movie relevant and even exist. They needed to get it out first before Ali's Blade came out. And so for me, looking at that, I was personally offended by it. It was good to see Wesley Snipes back, but like I said, he's looking and he's feeling his age. At most, he might do some cameos in the future, but there will not be a Blade movie with him. He's not the same. That's why you needed to recast him. The TVA. I watched both Loki's season 1 and season 2 of Loki, and I was a fan of it. And the TVA in this movie looks cheap. If you've never seen Loki season 1 and 2, and the only time you've been introduced to the TVA on the big screen is in this movie, you are missing so much more. I find it odd that the TVA on Loki appeared more substantial and active than the TVA on this big screen and big budget picture. What's in the movie of Deadpool looks like what you would expect on a TV show, and what we got in 2 seasons of Loki is what you expect in the movie. And then it comes to the analyst, the guy who's the kind of sort of villain, and that's one of my other problems with this. Matthew McFadden, they have him listed as Mobius M. Mobius, so he's another variant of Mobius. In the Loki TV show, they established that the analysts they shuffle papers around. They aren't in charge of the Minutemen or the Hunters. And then in Loki season 2, they introduced the fact that there are also generals who oversee the operations of the Hunters or the Minutemen, whichever one they call them. But the analyst, Mobius in the show, is never in control of any of that stuff. He's told more than once that he's not in control of any of operations. So how is this analyst commanding all of these hunters to go out there and lose their lives and stuff? They are twisting around what has already been established with the TVA for this movie. And once again, you're seeing the writers for the movie totally ignore everything that was set up in the Disney Plus shows, and it bothered the hell out of me. Second of all, he creates this device that's going to destroy a timeline. Why? You already established in 2 seasons of Loki that you have the reset charges, which are much smaller. Now, how many it takes to erase a timeline that has gone past the red mark and is now fully established? It may take more than one, but they exist. It would have been understandable if he had gone and gotten Deadpool and said, I need you to go. There's a stash of these things. They locked them away because we can't prune timelines anymore. But I need you to go on a mission because you can't die. I need you to go on a mission and get these things for me. No, that's not what happened. They create this whole thing, and it also has the ability to erase all timelines, which makes no sense for this guy because McFadden, his problem is, and this is the thing that got me, his problem is that the Logan timeline is going to die and he's been tasked with watching it. The problem is it's going to take maybe 2,000 years and he's bored. That's literally his motivation. So he creates this totally new thing that doesn't need to exist because you have the reset charges, but whatever. And the only reason Deadpool is there, again, because the trailer made you think that he's being used to set things right. No, he's there because somebody high up, way in the future, is going to have Deadpool interact with Thor. And they clumsily show a clip of that, which makes no sense because, again, they're treating the TVA like a joke in the movie when it was much more substantial and serious in the TV show. So we all get a glimpse of a scene with Thor. It looks like the one from the second Thor movie where Loki pretended to die. But instead, you have Deadpool standing in for him. And so he gets a glimpse of that because one of the analysts clumsily plays that. And so now he knows it's important. So the guy had to take Deadpool off the timeline because he's going to activate this device and destroy that timeline in 72 hours instead of having to sit up there and wait 2,000 years. And then he monologues with Deadpool instead of just locking Deadpool in a storeroom for 72 hours and then telling him after the fact. No, he brings him up to his command center and he monologues to him and tells him the entire thing. And then, of course, Deadpool says, well, I'm going to go and get another Wolverine to replace the one that died. Instead of immediately saying, I need to stop this device because Vanessa and all my friends are going to die in 72 hours. That is not even his mission. His mission is, ironically, is to go and get another Wolverine and bring him back. And when he does that, the guy looks at him and says, it's not going to work. That's not how it works. And then he sends Wolverine and him to the Void where they're going to meet Cassandra Nova. And it's only later, once Cassandra gets the information from the guy's head that there's this device, it's only later that Deadpool and Wolverine decide to destroy the device. And they're only going to do that now because she's going to use it to destroy. The very plot of this movie was bothering me the whole time that I'm watching it. The other Deadpool movies were much more straightforward. That's the other thing. Because Vanessa and Deadpool are not together, they are not an item, you literally, pun intended, you took the heart out of the show. They go to the Void, they meet Cassandra Nova, and for all those people who hated these humanized villains, you just wanted a villain to be a villain, that's what they did with her at first. She was horrifying because she could literally rip the skin off somebody and they would die from the shock and the blood loss thing and just crumple to the ground in immense pain until they died. She even hinted that she got a Doctor Strange, killed him, took his sling ring, and wore his skin around for 3 days. She is truly a horrifying person because she's so mild, she's even smiling. And then they messed up that villain because what did they do? Once she gets the information about this time bomb that can destroy supposedly one timeline, she realizes that she can power it up and use it to destroy all other timelines in the TVA and just leave the Void at the end of time. Dumb. And I'll tell you why it was dumb. One of the things that they established, which was really good with her character, is that she's sadistic. And there's two things. She likes the new people that are dropped in the Void, and she'll send her marauders out to get them because she's interested in it. It's a new toy for her. She eventually kills the person or makes them serve her. Or, and the other thing is, she feeds them to Eliath, almost like a sacrifice, so Eliath will pass over and not take her and her crew. So those are two important things. But then they give her the standard villain thing where they want to destroy everything, and that's when the character became less interesting because her plot makes no sense. Because if she destroys all the other timelines, that means that she has no fresh victims that she can torture because there won't be anybody dropped into the Void because there won't be any TVA or timeline to do it. Second of all, if she doesn't have these fresh victims, she has nobody to feed to Eliath. So her plot doesn't even make any sense. She was fine in the Void. She had her kingdom in the Void. She wasn't even messing with the people who are in the borderlands and in the other places. There's a whole section of the Void where there's all these variants of Deadpool, supposedly. Her plan is going to destroy her own existence. The plot is trash. And my thing is, you can understand now what that executive producer on Deadpool said when they were spinning their wheels trying to justify this movie's existence. And so as I'm watching it, again, as somebody who liked Loki season 1 and 2, I was totally pissed with the way they did the TVA. It was trash. It looked like it was a TVA, no pun intended. Whereas the TVA on the Loki show was far more cinematic. That's why at the end of the day, it's like I wasn't pressed to go back and see this because, again, I think Deadpool 2 was the height of the trilogy so far. So for me, at the end of the day, yes, there were fun parts in there. Yes, it was a Deadpool movie. Yes, you had the hyper violence that you expect from a Deadpool and the fourth wall break and stuff like that. There were moments that I laughed. It was good seeing Happy Hogan and Deadpool trying to apply to be an Avenger and him saying basically, no, you're not qualified, goodbye. All of that was really cute. and it was enjoyable. But I do not think in any way this movie saves the MCU. It does not give us any unique take on the TV and how they can bring in these other things. Marvel has already done that in the MCU movies that they've already released in the TV shows. It's an okay movie. You can feel how they just patched this story together to justify bringing Wolverine back and making that necessary for some reason. And also trying to figure out what to do with Deadpool in the MCU, because he's not going to work with anybody else. I think he's going to have to continue to have his own Deadpool movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But no, it's not saving the MCU. Personally, I think Spider-Man No Way Home was far better and far more impactful than this. This is just nostalgia and cameo bait. And most of the people, a lot of these YouTubers who are giving it raves reviews, some of them are at least honest enough to say that they would have ripped apart another movie for doing the same thing. But somehow it works here. Yeah, right. Okay. But anyway, that's my review of Deadpool and Wolverine. Let me know what you think in the comments. And as always, like, subscribe, and I will see you the next time.